Let's go to S, success. What do you attribute your success? You said perseverance and self-confidence.
I mean, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It's just,
I would agree.
You got to keep fighting. You know, you got to be able to roll with the punches and be able to understand that as you grow in any type of field or practice, you're going to have learning moments, and moments, even when you have successes, you can learn from the negative aspects of that success just as well as you can learn from the positive aspects of a negative moment. So I think there are ways to just continue to push yourself even when, you know, other people may not want you to reach that point.
Love it. Let's talk about some challenges you've had to overcome. Maybe just one big one. So the question is, biggest loss you've had to overcome in your career, and can you explain what that was? One thing that you could pick out.
I mean, I think early on I've learned about having the right partners in situations and having the right...
How many in your firm?
Our firm is three attorneys.
You as how's it set, the managing partner?
No. And we'll talk more about this here in a second too. So I've recently merged firms with SoCal Realty Law. SoCal Realty Law has been established. The managing partner, managing owner, Shana Welsh-Levin, has been practicing real estate law for over 11 years now. And I think before I joined, Shana and I met 2 or 3 years ago, you know, at a networking event, just meeting people, learning what other people are doing.
Connecting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And seeing how there might be ways to work together. And, you know, my firm was a sole practice where it was just me, you know, doing everything. And I would have cases come in that I wouldn't have the bandwidth or desire to take on in the real estate field, that I would refer to her, and her team would, you know, take it, run with it, and knock it out. So, you know, those are things that when you see people doing things the right way, and, you know, areas that there could be some potential collaboration, you know, I think it's always good to take note of that. And, you know, we stayed in touch, and there was a need for her team to expand and really get more into the real estate transactional space. And that's an area of focus for me. So it was a great pairing to bring it all together.
Excellent. So there's 3 of you now in the firm, including her team.
And Jim Delaney, he's a good friend of mine, has been with the firm for about 4 months also. He's been really focused on the litigation area.
And so what's the name of the group?
SoCal Realty Law.
SoCal Realty Law. Check them out, guys. We're going to leave Adam's information in the description. He is a practicing attorney here in San Diego, knows the market well, an investor, as well as a real estate broker.
Yeah.
So tell me about the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome in your career, or the loss. You said, you didn't put an answer here, but the next question was what you learned, and you said watch who you trust. So you started out by talking about partnerships.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, when you're dealing with larger, or any project really, any endeavor, you have to have like-minded people, and unfortunately things can change. So, you know, I think even from my perspective, from the mindset of how to look at this going forward, you know, I think it's just key to make sure your agreements are tight, spell things out, you know, make sure that even before you get to that point, you have an understanding of, you know, where some of the weak points might be, or how to deal with the adversity, what the potential adversity might be, you know, to have a game plan for that. So,
if this, then this.
Right. And, you know, I think that's just the forecasting and troubleshooting that, you know, you want to do. And sometimes you can do that and still have a calculated risk and have that come back.
A part of it, yeah. There may be some weaker spots, but you want to, know them, address them, and do whatever you can to mitigate risk.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's been, I think a lot of times we'll see people early on, you know, for who they are. And if you see that and ignore it, sometimes it can come back to bite you.
100%. Yeah, I'm dealing with a little bit of a situation, and it's really interesting that you say that. I agree, and sometimes you do ignore it. And like you said, it can come back to bite you. So yeah, guys, hey, make sure you get in bed with the right people. Make sure you're partnering up with the right people. If you smell it, you feel it, talk about it. If you need to consult with an attorney, do that. Make sure you're covering your rear end. It's all rainbows and butterflies till somebody gets mad and files a lawsuit, guys. Okay, so you said, tell me, so did you have a specific situation where something went bad? Do you want to share, or you just want to kind of move on?
No, not really.
Okay.
I think it's just...
So, dealt with some situations with partnerships. Obviously, you being a practice attorney, you've probably seen a lot of case law about that as well, and just being in the market. So, tell me kind of why you chose to answer with, what you've learned being watch who you trust. It's similar to what we were just talking about.
I think, you have to really be mindful of how you're seeing a project play itself out, and be ready for things to change over time, for life circumstances to change, and be mindful of that and willing to accept that, whether it's happening to you or it's somebody else on the team. So I think a lot of that is just having an idea that if adversity were to strike, some people aren't as well coped to deal with that as others. So, you have to know who you're working with.
Spoken like a true attorney. The fees keep getting bigger. I'm teasing, man. You never thought about this, did you? Tell me what it felt like when, you've maybe taken some L's or seen some others. You said what has happened, you have seen potentially is you can lose confidence in others and people.
Yeah. I mean, I think early on, especially when I was really trying to branch out into the investment space, there are a lot of people out there that want to work with you.
So many. And that's my favorite thing about real estate, Adam. Mm-hmm. The leverage. I love leverage. I love it. B, the types of people that you get to hang with. Like me hanging with you, bro. We haven't done a deal together. We met on a deal you sent me. We talked about it. Mm-hmm. We got on a call. I know actually somebody from, I think, Keller that brought it to us. Mm-hmm. We got on a call. Mm-hmm. We didn't end up buying that deal. I think you have it back on the market so we can talk about it, honestly.
Sure, yeah.
But then I got to learn about what you're doing. You're in the same space as me. You guys have the nonprofit sector portion figured out. You're obviously a well-accomplished, well-read, well-learned, individual. So I get to essentially hang out with guys like you who are just dope and learn from guys like you who are dope, and then do business with guys like you who are dope. And if things don't work out and you and I decide, hey, that's probably not the best partner for the next deal. I didn't like this. I didn't like that. Whatever, we don't have to do business anymore. But I think real estate is a very unique space where you get those opportunities. And then if it does work out and the stars align, you can go raise capital together. You could do so many things, and that group can get bigger. It could stay the same size. So it's just an amazing opportunity. It can be very transactional. It could be long-term. It could be some of both. Hey, I'm going to do these other deals because these guys want me to help them raise capital. Mm-hmm. Do you guys want in? It's a very, very unique space, and I love it. So that's one thing that you hit on that, I completely agree with. Real estate is super fun, and you get to sort of pick and choose who you want to deal with.
Yeah, and I would say that if you, early on, at any time, I think it's good to go to different groups, go try out different areas, especially areas that are of interest to you. And I think, especially in San Diego, there are a lot of groups, and now more than ever, there's virtual groups that you can attend, and you can attend groups all over the country at this point if you're diligent about it and find
the world.
Yeah, go to Eventbrite, you can find events all over the place that you can join and really learn and meet new people.
Guys, Deeds, Deals, and Drinks, our meetup.
There you go.
First Wednesday of the month, Little Italy. We're on the meetup app, Deeds, Deals, and Drinks. Also, while you're here, like and subscribe. It helps the podcast.
And, I think for me, it really turned a corner when I was able to connect with the right groups. Before the show started, we were talking about NAREB, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. And that group there's a San Diego chapter, but it's a nationwide organization that helps bring together Black real estate professionals and people who, whether they're real estate brokers, attorneys, loan officers, the professional field, developers, contractors, there are people who are able to come together and have an aligned vision, a like-minded aspect of wanting to be passionate about real estate, having a passion for real estate, but also having a passion for their community, a passion for the idea that other people have mentored them or taught them along the way to get to that point, and they're helping people, do the same thing. So I think
love it. And you're sitting on the board there, right?
Yeah, I've been a board member for the past couple of years.
Okay, and you guys are meeting around in San Diego, you're doing some virtual stuff as well.
A little bit of both, and I
Where
think
would people find that?
so. You can look us up at narubsd.com,
narubsd.com, guys. That will be in the description and the link as well.
and there are events that members host that we'll promote and make sure we highlight. And we have NARUB events. One of our biggest events is Realtist Week, and that is really a community-focused gathering throughout the week of April, where usually we look at different ways to impact the community under an aligned theme. And there's a community outreach day. There's a day that really focuses on the education aspect of first-time home ownership and generational.
I think next April we should do ADUs and ADU pals.
We had ADU events there, ADU designers, contractors who come and given knowledge just in terms of some of the do's and don'ts and different things. So,
and also man, like sometimes there's been some trolling out there, right? People don't understand it. They feel like there's been some that we're slum dogs and this and that, or slum lords, I should say. And it's like, look, man, no, we are obligated to build housing that's affordable. Supply and demand by nature, by more housing, more supply, like the cost is going to come down. In addition to that, we're doing a really good thing. And I think sometimes people don't understand. And I think by doing community outreach, by educating people, by letting them ask questions, vent sometimes, and you respond in kindness with empathy and help them understand, hey, this is a good thing. It's going to help in the long run. That can be very impactful. And the more of us that are doing it, I think, obviously the faster the word spreads.
Yeah. And I think, linking back to earlier when I was talking about trust, there's not a lot of trust in the community when it comes to real estate in general. There's been a lot of people over the course of years, whether it's through family or banks or other ways, have lost properties that, they should have been able to hang on to. And, it loses a large factor in their ability to build generational wealth or do things to help improve.
So much generational wealth is built through real estate.
Exactly.
So much.
And
for savings, man.
Right.
Powerful thing.
And a lot of us, and the people who are fortunate enough in San Diego to own properties, they sometimes don't realize, what they're sitting on or ways to maintain or be able to transfer what their living assets are to their family members in a way that makes sense. So,
do you deal in the trust space, or?
I have contacts there. I definitely have some solid referral attorneys for that, but I don't really do that as much. For me, it's working within. I have knowledge of, working with trust and, that ownership aspect. But in terms of putting together extensive estate planning packages, I definitely would refer those clients to attorneys who do that on a daily basis.
Understood. Last question on the loss portion of the pod.
Before we get into the law portion of the pod.
The last portion.
Oh, they said law portion. Never mind.
No.
No disclaimer.
No, we're good.
No disclaimer yet.
Clip that. Cut that. Okay, so tell me what it feels like in hindsight with this situation we're talking about. Your answer was more fuel to reach the goals you set.
Yeah, I think for me, being in situations, I'll give you one situation in particular. So previously, I was basically sent a request from a real estate investor, somebody who titled themselves a real estate investor, a large hospitality, hotels, resorts, things like that. And it was a long back and forth. They, represented themselves as having all these contacts, all these different connections to certain deals and pulling these deals together. I was hoping to put some different contracts together, but nothing really.
Did you get a retainer?
No, this was a retainer, but this was something that was like, hey, you work for some type of percentage. I was young.
Got it. I was going to say, because
this was a few years ago.
You're a retainer now.
Trust me. I can't even look in the mirror and tell this story. So, it got to the point where, I was doing some things that, wasn't spending a ton of time. It was something where I saw it as
an opportunity,
a worthwhile investment of time.
Yeah.
And if there was really this type of upside, why not? So, it got to the point where sooner than later, the person wants to start using your license, using things in a way that doesn't really sit right. It doesn't really make sense. It isn't, even if it's ethical, which it might be borderline, it doesn't really make sense for you to put yourself in that position. And then, you realize that people, are again, out for themselves. A lot of times you find people that don't have the right heart instincts in terms of how to work with people, how to do things the right way. So, again, if you see those red flags, those yellow flags, it's just a good sign to go find the right people. So when I was looking for the right organizations, I think before my mindset was really focused on who's appearing to do deals, who looks like they're either doing things, moving and shaking, but now I focus mostly on who seems to be interacting with people the right way, who seems to be, willing and able to provide value and add value. And because a lot of the times that's who is really doing the most and really going to be the most approachable and usually the best to work with.
So yeah, I talk about that quite often, consistency over time. Obviously, I think it's really important the way you treat people. You're getting on something that's very dear to my heart. I think, we're all human beings, as you were speaking about earlier before the pod. I'm a traveler. I got friends all across the world, honestly. And, I was having a conversation with somebody today, actually, and I was telling them, look, man, money's great, but to me, it doesn't matter if somebody's broke or worth $100 million. They're a human, and how can I provide value? How can they provide value to me? Do I just enjoy this person's time? Are they funny? Do I like to shoot hoops with them? Mm-hmm. Can I go hunting with them? Right? Like, can we race cars? Can we play video games together? I don't really play video games anymore, but you know what I mean? Like, money is great, but I don't essentially, number one, I would never treat someone a different way depending on how much money they have in the bank, high or low. Mm-hmm. And number two, I don't want to be treated like that. I don't want to walk into a room and be like, oh, here's the guy. And I don't want to walk in a room and be like, hey, dude, you're a peasant. That doesn't feel good. You want to walk into a room and be treated with respect as a human being and connect with people, bro. And the money thing is just a side thing. And I think sometimes in Western culture in the United States, we were talking about this earlier, we're out chasing money all day. You only have so much time in a day. We get caught up in the weeds, man. I think connecting with people, that's why the community thing is so important. I was talking about that. AD Pals needs to get more involved in that. We're doing some stuff. We need to do more. But yeah, giving back, being consistent over time, treating people with respect. Not only are you going to make, I think, more money in the long run, you're going to build more long-lasting, deep relationships in the long run. You're going to sleep better.
Yep. No, I mean, I think it gives you that peace of mind, definitely.
Cool. Okay, let's move into the meat of the show. We are going to go to some things that you want to talk about in your business.